Hi there, and welcome to Skyship Stories. In this third episode, our expert Skyship pilot Rod Burgess explains what it was like to be in the co-pilot seat of a skyship during one of the most amazing spectacles held over New York in 1986. It was the Great Blimp Race. This was when nearly half the world's airships converged over New York City on one summer weekend, and they had a race. So sit back, fasten your seatbelts as we vector the engines, push forward and up ship. Welcome to episode 3 of Skyship Stories.
That sort of leads me on because you were one of the co-pilots on one of probably the most spectacular views of the world, which is of course New York, and you were involved with the Great Blimp Race in 1986.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, it was for the centenary of the Statue of Liberty celebrations, and one highlight was what they call the Great Blimp Race, where 4 airships were to race around a 12-mile course in Manhattan. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, not all of it was a race.
Okay.
The race was the sort of the grand finale. We paraded around New York, I think is a better term.
Okay.
I had just passed my CAA flight test a couple of days before. This was the first flight after I now was the proud possessor of a bright purple airship pilot's license. And we were in New York specifically for that event. It was an enormous, great thing. New York Harbor was absolutely filled with shipping from all over the world. QE2 was in there, for example, and there were sailing ships, training ships from all over the world. Thousands of small craft filling New York Harbor, and hundreds of thousands of people out on the streets, of course. Perfect opportunity to advertise.
Absolutely.
So I was, that day, I was with the chief pilot, Peter Buckley, and we were in Sierra Alpha, which was 503, advertising Citibank, big American banking corporation. The ship, which was on the Fuji contract, that was too good an opportunity for Fuji to miss. So they had the ship in New York, another 500. There was a 600, which was British registered, but owned by Resorts International Casinos. So it had Resorts International Casinos plastered down the side. They owned it. That was painted on. The Fuji ship was painted. And the fourth member of the team was a WDL ship, a German-built ship, which was currently operated on behalf of McDonald's. So that was painted with McDonald's logos and everything. But shortly before that, our new 600, Skyship 600, 603, 603 had just flown. No, it isn't. I'm sorry, 604. That's right. Had just flown a few weeks beforehand. So that came along, and that was naked. That was just plain white. And the idea was that we would all congregate over the harbour at 10 in the morning or whatever it was, and then proceed in a disorderly fashion around some of the more populated areas for them to see the advertising, ending up over the River Hudson, being the top end of Manhattan. And the start line for the race would be the George Washington Bridge across the Hudson. And we were to race down the Hudson, and the finishing line was the line of sight between the official timing desk in Battery Park, right on the southern tip of Manhattan, a line of sight between that and the torch held by the Statue of Liberty.
Gosh.
So we paraded all the way around, got to the George Washington, and the brand new 600 we knew was going to be really fast, so they didn't let that race. They had that as a camera ship.
Okay.
But it easily outpaced any of the ships in the race. The other airships over New York that day were a couple of Goodyear ships. But at the time, Airship Industries and Goodyear were vying for an enormously valuable contract with the US government to explore the possibility of the US Navy having airships again. And Goodyear knew that we were going to be faster than them, so they had ordered their people not to get involved in the race. Wow. So although we flew past each other and waved and, chatted on the radio and everybody was very good-natured, they didn't take part in the race.
They weren't going to be they weren't going to be competing.
Yeah, they didn't want to be embarrassed.
Right.
And the favourite really was Fuji. The Fuji ship was 506 Sierra Hotel, and it was in very good condition. It was painted, not bannered, and the paint was nice, shiny, smooth paint. We reckoned they were probably going to win. We didn't know what to make of Corky in the WDL ship. We had the feeling he wasn't as fast as us, but nobody was actually telling anybody what the limiting speed on the airframe was. I didn't think we had much chance because Sierra Alpha was a blunt tail. It's one of the very early 500s, which had a shorter, rounded tail, not nearly as streamlined as the Fuji ship. And we had banners on. Resorts International, possibly. We would see. So, you've seen them trying to line the boats up for the two boats for the boat race. Trying to get them on the start line at the same time is entertaining. We should try it with 4 airships.
Above New York Harbour, yes.
It was, the only saving grace is that we can go backwards if we need to, of course.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah. So it's almost like the lineup for the Grand National,
Yeah, exactly. So eventually we were all lined up, and I can't remember how the word was given, but somehow or other the word was given that we should set off. At which point everybody thrust the throttles forward and away we went. Now, knowing that we didn't have a great deal of chance, Peter Buckley, the boss, had persuaded the engineers just to make some tiny adjustments to our propeller angles to give us a little bit more speed. And it was just possible that we might pull a fast one. So on the word go, everybody hits the throttles and away we all go. And it was immediately clear that Peter's fudge had not worked.
Oh dear.
We were actually going slower than we've been doing for the last few days.
Oh gosh.
The Fuji ship surged out in front and stayed ahead all the way.
Yeah.
I can't remember the finishing times, but we arrived after everybody'd gone home, about 2 minutes behind the leader.
So nobody put money on each other?
No. We didn't bet on it.
Okay.
I'm surprised if the bookies were hard at work on the ground.
Yeah.
But, no, Fuji wiped the floor with us all.
Okay.
We thank Rod for his amazing insights into that amazing event and what it was like to see New York from above. So join us next time on Skyship Stories episode 4, where Rod takes us into some of the more technical aspects of what it's like to fly a skyship. Until next time, keep vectoring those engines.